Karimova and Kirksey were in the Big Apple, back on the East Coast after demanding to be traded away from the Cardinals franchise. Karimova enjoyed being back out east because it meant shorter trips to see extended family and former teammates down in Florida at FAU. The Jets opened the season on Monday Night Football playing in Cleveland against the Browns. Most of all, though, the Jets were among 4 top teams labeled as contenders to win the Super Bowl this season after the acquisition of both Kirksey and Karimova on defense. At the age of 30, AK-47 had amassed nearly 50 sacks in his 7-year career up to this point. On top of that, Arlo had made over $90 million, but he also was starting to regress as an athlete. Karimova was getting slower and he was starting to lose his edge as a pass rusher. No doubt he was an upgrade at the position for the Jets, but he wasn't the game wrecker he was earlier in his career. This wasn't an issue though because the Jets defense was stacked with talent. They still had Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner along with some new draft picks at middle linebacker and defensive end. The addition of Kirksey and Karimova meant the Jets D could feature up to 7 or 8 Pro Bowlers. Of course, the goal was not going to the Pro Bowl though. The Jets finished winning the AFC East with a 12-5 record behind the best quarterback performance AK-47 had ever been on a team with. Rhett Bolden had 34 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in a very efficient performance for the season. The running game was solid, the number 1 receiver on the team was A.J. Brown, and defensively, neither Karimova or Kirksey had impactful seasons statistically. You could chalk it up to a new environment or getting familiar with the team and play style. Arlo finished 9th for best linebacker, and then it was time for the playoffs. In the wild card, AK-47 and the Jets would match up with their AFC East and state rivals, the Buffalo Bills. The Jets, who were now considered to be one of the Super Bowl favorites, came out rolling, scoring a touchdown on their first possession, and Karimova, with only 4 sacks in the regular season, set the tone early with a sack on Josh Allen. The Jets scored another touchdown before the Bills responded with a touchdown of their own in the second quarter. With so many defensive superstars on one team, the Jets D put opposing quarterbacks through hell, including Josh Allen. Getting the ball down the field was a chore for offenses. With the game on the line in the fourth, Allen and the Bills were in scoring position. A touchdown would take the lead, and Allen fired it to the back of the end zone, but Sauce jumped the route, and the Jets would protect home field and advance onto the divisional round, where they would meet up with Joey B and the Bengals. Karimova had a vintage performance against the Bengals in New Jersey. While in the first quarter he didn't have any sacks, he was shutting down the run and getting a ton of pressure on Burrow, forcing him to make several off-platform throws that hurt his ability to get the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And when you've got a mountain of a man coming at you, sometimes you can't help but throw picks when the secondary is lined with all-pro talent like Sauce Gardner and Damarious Kirksey. Burrow remained unfazed though. On 4th and 3, he found Joe Mixon underneath for a walk-in touchdown to regain the lead 14-7, which was a backbreaker. Karimova settled the crowd down with a huge, sweaty sack. That sack wouldn't be enough though, as the Bengals marched down the field and scored 2 straight touchdowns to take the lead in the fourth quarter. Luckily, Rhett Bolden was throwing darts for the Jets, and so Karimova and the D were asked to hold off the Bengals with a 3-point lead and a minute left in the game. The Bengals were still on fire after coming off of 2 straight touchdown drives, and Joe Burrow could not miss. But when the Bengals got into field goal range, Burrow took a shot at the end zone and it was picked off, just like in the Bills game when they needed it most. So the Jets and Karimova would advance to the AFC Championship game for the first time in Arlo's career to play against the Ravens. The Jets were going through a QB gauntlet facing Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and then Lamar Jackson, but Rhett Bolden and the star-studded defense were standing up to the test. Arlo had a chance to make one of the biggest plays of his career to return a pick 6 on the Ravens' opening drive, but he just barely missed putting the ball between his hand and his club. Again, AK-47 was a unit in the run game, shutting down Lamar's QB scrambles and option keepers. For being a slower edge-rushing linebacker, Karimova's size helped him a lot with containing Lamar. The Jets went to half after a Ravens field goal with a 17-6 lead, and the Jets scored another touchdown, but the Ravens obviously weren't going out without a fight. Lamar found his running back on a slant, and he took it all the way to the Jets' red zone before being pushed out. Lamar threw a dime into the end zone and made it a 2-score game again. But again, Rhett Bolden was throwing steamers, scoring another touchdown and cementing the Jets' place in the Super Bowl. And just like in the previous 2 playoff games, the Jets effectively ended it with another interception. The Jets would end up playing the Bears of all teams in the Super Bowl. Arlo had been pressing his teammates all week to put just one more game together. The level of intensity and drive they had shown on defense throughout the playoffs looked like it legitimately put fear into the opposing quarterbacks' hearts. Arlo was playing his best football in years during this run, and so was the secondary. Arlo flew all of his family out to the game in Georgia, and he told his family that he had a special surprise announcement after the game. AK-47 also had the support of his former teammate at FAU, Evan Anderson, and Evan joked that this was the second best defense Arlo had ever been a part of, besides the FAU defense that gave up single-digit touchdowns for a whole season. Cole Kmet was shocked when Arlo dropped back in pass coverage to defend his out route. Arlo had a second near interception. The Jets scored a touchdown, and the Bears settled for a field goal, and with the Jets up 17-13, Arlo and the D had 2 minutes left before earning their Super Bowl title. The Bears quarterback, Jake Shelley, was making throws with pinpoint accuracy on big downs, and Karimova was starting to feel some nerves as it came down to the wire. Karimova didn't anticipate this close of a game against a relatively young quarterback, AK-47 told his secondary that he needed just one more play out of them. They had one pick to end the game in each of their last 3. Arlo wanted just one more, and he got it. Sauce Gardner came up with a game-clinching pick, and Kirksey and Karimova won their first Super Bowl together in their first year with the Jets. After winning it all, the Romanian meat missile accomplished all he had set out to in his football career. At the college level, Arlo broke every sack record in the book, and at the professional level, Karimova won the best linebacker in the league, made over 6 Pro Bowls, and won a Super Bowl. Football was never Karimova's passion, but rather a vehicle to get him where he wanted to go. AK-47 made well over $100 million in his career, considering his salary, endorsements, and his meat missile sports hydration drink. Arlo saved the family farm and overcame his addiction to have an amazing career and set his family up for life. With all that considered, Arlo announced his retirement from football effective immediately after the Super Bowl. AK-47 went out on top and proved that athletes come in all shapes and sizes with different levels of abilities. Arlo, inspired by the likes of Hansel Emanuel and Shaquem Griffin, decided to move back to Romania with his family and play professional basketball, which was his real passion. Arlo had been regaining control of his hand slowly over the course of years with training, and he had been practicing to use his non-dominant hand as well to dribble, shoot, and pass. Damarious Kirksey went on to win 2 more Super Bowls with the Jets before retiring, and former FAU teammate Evan Anderson visited Romania twice a year to see his friend Arlo. Kaysen, Arlo's brother, went on to play soccer semi-professionally in Romania because that was quote-unquote a real sport, and AK-47 would later be inducted into the Hall of Fame for his career achievements.